RWBY, Volume 6, Episodes 12 and 13, Seeing Red and Our Way. What happens? The battle with the kids in Cordo is still underway. Oscar comes up with a plan to defeat the robot, they mess it up and crash the airship. RWBY speeches at Cordo and then incapacitates the mech. Back at the waterfall, Blake and Ying are still holding hands. The group talk a lot, they fight a little and talk some more, and finally Ying turns on her semblance and punches Adam. She and Blake stab him and he dies. Back again with Cordo, it seems there's bigger fish to fry as the Leviathan is approaching Argus. Cinder and Neo are in a forest somewhere and have obtained an airship and new clothes. Okay, anyway, the Leviathan is still here. Blake and Ying reconnect with the group and the kids fly around for a bit looking sad. The town activates shields that don't even shield themselves, and RWBY insists on helping. The group futzes about a lot. RWBY tries activating her eyes but can't, and so calls on Jin to freeze time. We get a PowerPoint on some previous scenes and RWBY turns her eyes on, freezing the Grim. But it's still not dead, so the Genlock ad can come in and kill Steel. Cordo lets the kids leave, and they all talk about how amazing they are and make it to Atlas, where they're surprised to see the air fleet. After the credits, Emerald, Mercury, and Hazel watch Salem make some flying monkeys. You might be wondering, why are you doing both of these episodes at the same time? And the reason is, because I want to. I think I've dilly-dallied with getting these last Volume 6 reviews out enough. You know an episode's quality when it starts by totally ignoring the stakes of 2 cliffhangers. The airship's going down? Nah, that didn't happen. RWBY might fall into the water? Nah, she just gets up. Like, what's the point?
Nice.
Can you make that kind of shot?
If RWBY can snipe missiles like that, why doesn't she ever actually fight with her gun? Honestly, it seems the reason they don't have RWBY use her gun more often is because they don't understand how it works.
I'd have to be practically staring down the barrel of her cannon.
RWBY has a high-impact sniper rifle. These guns are designed for long range and accuracy. A standard issue sniper has a 69% chance possibility of hitting a target within the diameter of 23.3 centimeters. Assuming RWBY has the smallest cartridge available, she has a maximum effective range of 600 to 800 meters. And RWBY's a weapon nut, so she most likely outfitted Crescent Rose with the best equipment available, which means it's incredibly possible she has a cartridge with a maximum effective range of 2,000 meters. Snipers are designed to be at a distance and stationary. Getting closer to the mech doesn't help, and being on a moving airship with nothing but her noodle arms to support her weapon would only make it near impossible for her to aim. The kids simply take steps to make it harder for RWBY to shoot the missiles. And on top of it all, it's dumb because Weiss exists. Weiss's glyphs makes it infinitely easier and more efficient for her to ruin Cordo's missiles. She can basically lock onto targets and fire her dust at seemingly any range. The only reason RWBY is the one to do this is because the writers realize the title character hasn't done anything special in 3 years. I also gotta say, this whole event is really unnecessary. We go from the airship going down, to it being totally fine, to a half-baked plan to shoot a missile, to fucking up and the airship going down again. This whole scene is just getting us back to where we had left the group last episode, but now with the writers' inability to do research on clear display. By all means, they could have just skipped this little event and jumped straight into the airship crashing. Panicking Oscar is still my favorite form of Oscar.
Are you too crazy? We're gonna crash! We're gonna crash!
Another dumb fucking speech from RWBY. Maybe if this wasn't all she'd done all volume, I'd actually care. But I don't. I'm tired of RWBY standing stock still and using her sad but hopeful voice. All of her speeches sound the same. They're all basic ass bullshit that doesn't even need a speech for. The only good thing about this speech is there's an inexplicable jump in animation quality halfway through it, making it feel like a tech demo for how they animate Volume 7. And to top it all off, this interaction's really dumb.
But we're supposed to be on the same side!
RWBY's right, and only highlights how poorly they've written Cordo. The fact that she never actually gives a reason to keep the kids locked out of Atlas is brought to the audience's attention here.
We didn't want to steal from you, we did it because you gave us no other choice!
Except, no, the kids never considered any other choice. Again, RWBY just brings the poor writing to the forefront by ostensibly telling the audience to think about how the kids came to the conclusion of steal the airship, and how that had been their first idea. It's really easy to just zone out when characters talk in RWBY, since the writing is so often just sloppily thrown around ideals. It becomes easy to just listen to how angry or happy a character sounds while talking, and then just accept that. But every time I actually focus on what the characters say, it's constantly riddled with these crazy leaps in logic, inexplicable topic jumping, and this thing where they pretend they've written the show one way, completely ignoring what's actually happened. Spoiler for Volume 7, it gets much better in terms of character writing, and thank fuck, because I am sick of dialogue like this. Shooting down the barrel of the cannon is cool. They kinda hype it up too much, since we all know RWBY is the fastest thing alive and very much able to get out of the blast range in time, but it was still neat. Bitch, why you fainting? You haven't done shit all day! The way this episode is paced makes it feel like Adam's just been staring at Blake and Ying hold hands for like 10 whole minutes. This scene has more insufferable dialogue. I'll play a couple clips of it here.
What makes you so sure you can win now?
I don't have a choice.
You know, she made a promise to me once that she'd always be at my side, so I just wasn't good enough for you.
You know it's so much more than that.
And leave it at that. I am tired of repeating these critiques over and over for the third volume in a row. Adam sounds fake as fuck. Replies feel too scripted. Half the time it's like the characters can't even hear each other and just say whatever they want. This shot is dumb. We should see Blake next to Yang. There was no need to make it a split screen, the two were already standing shoulder to shoulder. Why not put Adam down there? Unfortunately, this fight isn't nearly as much fun as last episode's. While not bad, it's just not too good either. The camera's gotten shy and tends to stick itself far from combat, making it feel weightless, or gets in too close so it's hard to see again. Blake and Ying's teamwork isn't too impressive, with it basically just being them juggling Adam between each other. Everyone seems to have gotten worse in terms of fighting with simple, boring choreography. We spent a lot of time on one dumb, slow attack, and the music going gothic apeshit in the background just does not fit the tone or setting. They also just keep stopping to talk, or will cut away to watch Blake shittily climb a mountain, even though she can do stuff like this. Bad directing alert. Blake is constantly climbing upwards. Every time we see her, she's going up, and there are even clips where she's clearly ascended above the others. But then she's suddenly down here to punch Adam? Bad. Why? Why doesn't she drop down on him? Why spend so much time focusing on her getting higher up if your plan is to have her do a from below attack? Bad job. I just want to take a second to focus on the cringiest and funniest line in all of RWBY.
What does she even see in you?
It's just the worst, and I love it. While this fight dips into some annoying levels, Yang catching Adam's blade is still very fun. His attack leading into it was pretty lame, but her animation and the cool effect of her semblance just like... it's fun, in the same way the trailers were fun. It's triumphant and makes you excited and happy the girls are being cool and winning. Though, I wish Semblance Yang got to do more. Since Volume 4, Yang's been cheaping out on using her semblance, because remember, Tai said to use it smarter, which meant stop using it. But now that she's allowed to have her semblance back, it's transformed into one punch wins all. It's just the finishing move that she refuses to use until the battle has to wrap up. I'd like to see Yang turn her semblance on in the middle of combat. Let the fight last a bit with her going full Super Saiyan. It would be fun. Yang should not have been involved with the stabbing. This should have been the final conclusion to Blake's 6-year-long journey of dealing with her past. Yang just got her conclusionary I'm smarter thing.
I may not be faster, but I'm smarter.
They lessened the emotions of Blake's conclusion by having Yang insist on joining in on the murder. Because also, Yang muddies this message. Blake and Adam both reach for a weapon, she gets it first and delivers a fatal blow to her abusive stalker ex-boyfriend head of terrorism. That works. That's technically self-defense, meaning it's okay that our hero just killed a man that she refused to allow her friend to arrest earlier. Well, it's okay enough. But Yang ran at him from behind, picked up a blade and stabbed him in the back. That's not self-defense. One could argue she's defending Blake, but the message becomes so much muddier by having Yang do this. By all means, she saw red and wanted blood. She actively chose to attack an unarmed man from behind. And yes, he's a villain. Yes, he's abusive. Yes, he probably would kill the girls if he had the chance. But shouldn't our protagonists strive to be better than the bad guys? Because this ends up reading like... Will, like, Blake and Yang have to kill the evil straight man so they can become a couple, and I don't think that was RT's intention. I think they just wanted this to be a big celebration of Bumblebee winning and defeating the bad guy, but since the girls immediately jump into romantic dialogue and intimate animation with forehead touching, it's how it feels, especially since Adam goes out of his way to express how upset he is to see Blake and Yang as a couple.
What does she even see in you?
It's as if Blake and Yang aren't allowed to be together until the straight option was killed off, and it's just... it doesn't present Blake and Yang's relationship in the healthiest light, and I gotta say, I do not understand all the Bumblebee shippers who were happy about this. From failing to canonically set up the two romantically beforehand, to establishing the relationship with the first hero team murder, Bumblebee was simply not handled well in my opinion. I guess seeing your favorite two imaginary people hold hands is preferred over a well-written relationship. For all the Bumblebee shippers out there, I really do hope RT puts in some extra effort to make this ship good. I want people to get the chance to like this pair for more reasons than just I wanted them together. You know? This episode is paced so clunkily. Why separate the mech scenes with the Bumblebee stuff? I think it would have worked better if it had started with the Blake, Yang, and Adam stuff, and then just went into the mech scenes together. It would flow better, and it wouldn't do this herky-jerky thing of, we defeated Adam! Oh wait, suddenly there's a new problem to face.
What about Yang and Blake?
Really? Jean's the one to finally remember half the title team we're last heard of being in danger? Not RWBY? Not Weiss? Why? Seeing Red is a fine enough episode, but feels exceedingly bogged down with RWBY's fourth speech in a row, less than amazing fights, and sloppily handled murder and romance. At least this episode isn't a waste of fucking time. One episode left and they actually conclude shit, but they also decided to just throw a whole new problem at the kids with no warning before this episode, and now the group has less than 20 minutes to fix this big, super bad, uh-oh problem. Why didn't we get to see Neo and Cinder obtain all this new gear? These bitches completely disappeared 6 episodes ago. Why were they ignored for the second half of the volume? Also, who's the genius who decided to show off Cinder's all-black outfit in a pitch-black setting? 'Cause that's a dumb idea.
This is your fault!
Well, kinda. Cordo is the dumb fuck who decided to use her anti-Grim mech to attack a bunch of teens, but also she's not wrong in that our heroes did go out of their way to incapacitate the mech. The group could have simply ran. They already had the airship. They could have just flown away, go pick up Blake and Yang, and leave Argus without engaging with the lady RWBY insists they're on the same side as. But unfortunately, we never get to see our heroes suffer any consequences for doing the same nefarious deeds that other characters are labeled villains for. How did Blake and Yang get back here without the bike? Who here remembers that RWBY and Yang are related? Good job! You're doing better than the writers. Like, I get that Blake and Yang are distracted by the mech, but why does Yang just completely ignore RWBY like this? Hug her, look at her, fucking do something! Guys, there's a giant monster attacking. Now is not the time to slowly have the sisters smile at each other because Yang's gonna tap the cat girl. It's so annoying that the two only get to interact to continue to push the new relationship together. That's some real nice looking water. These shields are fucking stupid. They don't protect themselves. That's the point of a shield! This whole deal with the Leviathan destroying the shields is really embarrassing. The people who decided on this design, and this being the series of events leading to the shield's destruction, should be embarrassed. Just have the Leviathan's hyper beam go through the shield part. This is not hard.
Disengage, Leviathan. I repeat, disengage.
Why? Oh no, the monster's gotten through our defenses. Time to stop trying to kill it, I guess. This is stupid. These lines are stupid. This scene is stupid. This threat is stupid. Watching the show bend over backwards to force the shitty conclusion of RWBY gets to save the day is bad. And I'm fucking tired of the show being bad. Why does RWBY insist on planting her ass right in front of the Leviathan? She doesn't need to be right in front of it for her eyes to work. She deliberately goes out of her way to be in danger so we can pretend there's stakes here. I find it distracting that RWBY's memories are inexplicably 2D. I guess it would have been just as jarring for them to have been stills of the previous volumes, but I don't know, it just doesn't look great to me. I do like how her most recent memories are screenshots though. That's a cool idea, that they flatten over time. So while this threat is completely manufactured by the character's decisions, I was actually very impressed with RWBY's idea of freezing time with Jin to give herself a second chance to start her eyes. It's a smart plan and a fun utilization of an effect from a previous important scene. But then Jin deadass looks into the camera and tells the audience, RWBY is smart. You should think she's smart because she's so perfect and cool for what she just did. Make sure you screech about how much you like RWBY for being smart.
Even if this was clever.
Having your characters tell us to be impressed with your protagonist actively diminishes how well you actually showed us that she was impressive. Summer Rose's grave was one of the first things we ever saw for RWBY. Her ghostly figure started every episode for Volume 1. Fans have wondered and speculated on RWBY's late mother since the Red trailer, wanting to learn what she looked like. And this is what we get. A shitty recoloring of RWBY. I thought we all learned that simply palette swapping a daughter wasn't acceptable back in Volume 2, but at least Raven had a unique outfit. Summer is just RWBY, fill-bucketed black, with stupid squares of hair stapled to the back of her head. This is fucking lazy. This is embarrassing. They made sure to make 3 complete outfits for Cinder, they make sure to give Neo a new, sexier look, they make sure to have 2 new looks for Salem for her flashback, they make sure to have 6 different Ozma lives, some of them with multiple different outfits, they make sure to have a whole world of one-off, never-used-again background characters, but they can't be bothered to put in the effort for Summer Rose, RWBY's whole reason for becoming a huntress. They couldn't even be bothered to palette swap RWBY's original outfit, which they also took the time to make in the new engine, but instead used this shitty, poofy-sleeved, dumbass boob window outfit. This is the most prime example of Rooster Teeth not giving a shit about this product. They clearly just want to make money on this IP and don't give a fuck about respecting the story, the audience, or the product as a whole. Fuck this. I suppose I like that RWBY doesn't fully freeze the Leviathan, because that means she still has a ways to go in terms of mastering this ability, even though she's already shown that she's better than that because she froze the Wyvern. But what I don't like is that this feels like a Genlock ad. Oh no, RWBY wasn't good enough! Does that mean her team will jump in and help destroy the monster with a super cool 4-person combo move? No! Corda will reappear with her mech, apparently she got free, and suddenly jumps into the Genlock engine to kill the Grimm for the heroes. Because Carrie wanted to steal a scene from his favorite anime, Gurren Lagann. It doesn't even look good. The rule of cool can't save you from this exceedingly lackluster conclusion to this barely established threat. And apparently that's all it took for Cordo to be considered a good guy now, even after her mild racism towards Blake and the whole trying to kill the kids thing, and refusing to listen to RWBY after her speech about friendship or whatever. These last 6 episodes have been a complete waste of time. Cordo just had to decide to be good suddenly. If she'd been like this back when they first landed in Argus, the kids would be in Atlas by now. This was such a flimsy excuse of a conflict. I like looking at how ugly these background characters are. That's really fun for me. And Crow suddenly decides, I'm not drinking anymore. Why? Well, because the credits gotta roll soon. If I'm being generous, I could point to RWBY yelling at him before the mech fight as the conclusion to that arc for Crow, except his alcohol dependency isn't what she's talking about in that scene. It's his attitude. It's RWBY insisting that the kids want to be on this adventure, even though they all hate the man who gave them the task they're following. Crow does finally decide to cheer the fuck up in that moment, but his alcoholism is inexplicably just bundled into that without mention. If we're gonna hound on this plot point so much all volume, I would have preferred a real conclusion to it, and not a, well, I guess that was how we fixed Crow's drinking. Similar to Jin earlier, having the cast tell the audience we should all be super impressed with how amazing RWBY is annoying, coupled with the crappy comedy and being stuck listening to Lindsay's annoying-ass RWBY voice, and I just want to skip this whole scene.
The Atlas Air Fleet.
And, like, so? Beacon got destroyed by a terrorist attack. One of Cordo's airships just got stolen. Why are we acting like this is a surprise to see? Minor spoilers for Volume 7 and 8, nothing plot-related though. So, as of writing this, these flying monkeys still have not reappeared. We're 5 episodes into Volume 8, and we haven't even seen a Barangel, let alone one with wings. With every year that passes, this post-credit scene becomes more and more useless and hilarious. RWBY, Volume 6, the one with Bumblebee. It started airing on the Rooster Teeth site on October 27th, 2018, and finished on January 26th, 2019. Included was a character short for Adam, which was boring and worthless, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I will quickly mention that in it, Garrett takes one bullet and his aura breaks, so it looks like the man really is a giant pussy. The volume has 13 episodes and a total runtime of 3 hours and 54 minutes, and you know, it took me a really long time to finish making these reviews for Volume 6, and for these last 2 episodes specifically, it's because quite frankly, watching these again felt like a chore. They are boring, bland, annoying episodes, much like the 5 episodes before them. The back half of Volume 6 is aggressively disappointing, as you can almost see the crew floundering with the lack of time, money, and planning necessary. The show takes such a sharp dive with Episode 7 that it feels eerily reminiscent of Volume 5, complete with the obviously rushed end product. And to make a brief comparison, Volume 5 is kind of like watching a house burn down, where at first you hope they'll be able to handle the emergency and salvage something great from it, but as it keeps burning, you quickly give up hope and sorta just start accepting how terrible it is. Volume 6, however, starts off really promising. It's got some glaring problems, but it seems to actually be trying, which makes its sudden shift into Shit City at the halfway point less like a house fire, and more like taking a nice walk and suddenly being interrupted by a gang of ruffians beating you up. And I'll admit these analogies are pretty hyperbolic. I've been really into John Wick lately and blame that, but really the point of these metaphors is that Volume 6 hurts more than Volume 5, because it had started out so nice. While our heroes tend to either grind on my nerves or get left out of the story, I still enjoyed the beginning of Volume 6 a lot. Major standouts include the excellent atmosphere of Jin's summoning, the professional level of animation and story structure for Salem's backstory, the fight's quality in Cinder and Neo's tussle, and the concise, excellently executed adventure at the farm. But the moment the group lands in Argus, it all sours. Characters become flat assholes who are annoying to listen to, and who start reverting to being little more than vessels for exposition dumps. The pacing grinds to a halt with elongated moments of nothing happening, the script feels like it's taped together with unrelated conversations with its clunky dialogues, and even though one of the best fights does happen in the third to last episode, the combat overall around it feels weightless, tensionless, and unfocused. After following 3 separate character arcs throughout the volume, the show decides to throw all of those away to instead have the only on-screen growth dedicated to Jean in the most manipulative, embarrassing scene of the volume. I still stand by my assertion that Jean is not Miles' self-insert, and rather that Miles is just a pretty crappy writer who tends to just think about his characters more than the actual title team. But buddy, this shit is not helping your case. The volume fumbles its plot so hard that the final boss of the volume isn't even introduced until 15 minutes before the end credits. People complain that the Apathy Adventure is bad because it's unconnected from the plot. Well, maybe I like it so much because it actually has a plot. The first 4 episodes has the kids aimlessly following the orders of a man they all hate, while Cinder and Neo team up completely unbeknownst to the heroes. Then the only 2 villains that's been established in the volume vanish to instead have Dementia McGee screech her way into the show suddenly. But surprise, she's not even the real threat, because Adam has suddenly appeared after literally 0 setup. But actually, he isn't even the big conclusion to the volume. The Leviathan is. And quite frankly, it's no real surprise the volume ended up so unfocused when you look at what happened with the production of it. Not only was time and effort wasted on the worthless Adam short, but they also didn't even have much time to begin with. As had been the norm, the crew didn't start working on the volume until 1 week after Volume 5's finale aired. They only gave themselves a little under 9 months to completely produce an entire 13-episode volume. So yeah, I'm not surprised the show started out better, since they clearly didn't have the time to iron out all the shit in the second half. To give some perspective on it, Beastars is also a 3D-styled anime like RWBY, with a similar amount of episodes. Its second season is taking a little over a year to produce. No wonder the majority of Volume 6's episodes clock in at 14 minutes long, but not only were they shortchanged on time, their animation team was halved, because of Genlock. You know, that show with the ugly animation that has an ad embedded into the first 30 seconds or so of each episode of RWBY this volume, starting at episode 6? Yeah, see, Genlock was set to air the day after Volume 6's finale, so the animation team was split up so both shows could be worked on simultaneously. Suddenly, the lack of movement in the second half of the volume makes a lot more sense. And it also makes sense that this was around the same time that the Glassdoor accounts rose. Glassdoor is a website where people can anonymously review workplaces, and RT is apparently a shitty place to work if you aren't one of the on-screen personalities. There are many accounts detailing how artists and lower-level employees get thrown under the bus to cover management's mistakes. People are working 80-hour weeks without overpay or compensation. Management acts like a BFF bro club where it's just a bunch of friends living large while overworking their employees, being forced to animate 16-minute long episodes in under 2 weeks, multiple accounts of harassment and racial discrimination, sudden layoffs, and an overwhelming amount of misogyny. And you know, I'm not surprised, because this is the same company that has a lead writer who openly body shames women on Twitter, because all you need to be a prostitute in Miles's eyes is to wear shorts and have large breasts. What a shithead. And it's amazing because this is the same man who writes for a show that has every major female character have a boob window or deep cleavage. Each flat-chested girl has her boobs grow with each new outfit change, and the only arc he knows how to write for a woman is them being in love and then the man does something. Despite all that, though, the real problem for Volume 6 seems to have been Gray Haddock, previously a director for the show and then production lead for Genlock before leaving the company soon after his show's first season. It's been alleged that Gray stole money from other sections of animation, would fire people en masse, was likened to being a slave driver to his teams, while spending his time gallivanting around Japan with Miles and Carrie. Gray made sure Genlock got priority, and as such, RT's other animations were left with nothing but crunch to get finished. At least RWBY didn't get as shafted as Nomad of Nowhere. I'll supply plenty of sources for all this in the description. Reading about RT's work conditions is like watching a car crash in slow motion. And these allegations didn't stop with Gray's departure. Glassdoor is still getting negative reviews for Rooster Teeth now. Sometimes I get comments asking when I'm gonna go work for Rooster Teeth and fix RWBY. I guess my response for those would be, why would I want to go work for a company where I'll be overworked, underpaid, harassed, and discriminated against just to end up unceremoniously laid off? To focus back onto Volume 6, RT seemed to have been worried by the lowering fanbase for RWBY. After multiple large exoduses of viewers after the shift to Maya, and again after the travesty that was Volume 5, they needed to get people to come back. But how? Fan service. The fans screamed about how much they wanted Neo back, so they added her in. The fans cried about how much they miss Pyrrha, so they dedicate a whole episode to talking about how perfect she was. The fans screeched about how much they wanted Blake and Ying together, so they rushed to have the two become a couple. To all the fans demanding the show be exactly how they want it, I hope you're happy, because when the fans are calling the shots, this is what we're stuck with. Meaningless scenes that go nowhere, pointless moments desperately trying to connect one piece of fan service to the next, plot points with no setup and no real payoff, a directionless, unfocused, rushed, sloppy mess. Volume 6 makes me sad, because it was so close to good, but unfortunately, it was also just the perfect storm of problems. A declining fanbase, nefarious co-workers, a mismanaged schedule, and the showrunners desperate to get their cash cow back to the top of the charts, rather than desperate to tell their story. I'll spoil my feelings for Volume 7 and mention that it does get better from here, but that doesn't fix Volume 6, and honestly, it's hard to like a show knowing this is the mistreatment that's going into making it. There's no reason to go back and watch the volume. What, you want to listen to the girls be bitchy little shits again? You want to watch the crew force its fan service into the show again? You want to watch a bunch of Genlock ads again? Rooster Teeth does not deserve to make money on this product, not because it was bad, not because I didn't like the story, but because of how poorly the company treats the people who are actually making it. I've mentioned a couple of times that I hope the people in charge of certain scenes or aspects of the show should be embarrassed by what they let go through to the final product, but I really mean it when I say that Rooster Teeth should be embarrassed by their treatment of employees. They abuse their workers so they can shit out another crappy volume for what once was their most profitable show, when all you care about is making enough money to afford a round-trip vacation to Japan. You don't deserve praise.
Think this is it?
Oh, they fucking. What? They're just saying hi to each other.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, they fucking. Look at them sparks. They're just talking to each other.
Go.
Oh, they fucking. Oh, they fucking.
This is how the war begins.
Yeah, I get it.
This is it. Union's making their play. This is how the war begins.
No, shut up! I don't need you! I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for you.